A task force was sent on a mission to clear a military base. But Sergeant Dover explains in a recording that this mission was not to hunt humans, but evil creatures. Dover adds that these creatures can look like them, but they are faster, smarter, and stronger than any other human. The group soon enters the military base, and it doesn't take long for them to find these evil beings. The soldiers fire frantically at the creatures, but quickly everyone is attacked and killed, leaving only Sergeant Dover, who manages to briefly escape outside, but is soon pulled back. We see that the base had been abandoned for 2 years until a group of people decided to throw a party. We meet a group of young ex-soldiers who want to enjoy their days back from Iraq. Soon everyone reunites: Johnson, his friend Eric, and the girls Jenna and Evie. Eric talks to Johnson and says that this time Matt almost went to the other world. But Johnson says his friend is tough and managed to save himself thanks to a medic. Matt then decides to go to that party too, accompanied by a woman. Matt soon meets his former comrades and introduces the doctor who saved his life, and who is also his girlfriend, Mira. A couple is making out outside, but the woman wants to spice things up and invites her partner to go inside the base. The guy agrees and they enter. A man ends up hitting Eric's girlfriend, and this causes a fight. The ex-soldiers engage in combat with the men and manage to knock them down, but one of them pulls a gun. The whole group runs for their lives until they reach the entrance of the military base, and, with no options, decide to go in. The men fail to get in and leave, while the group ends up finding the couple from before. The couple wants to leave, but the group prevents them because they would be risking opening the door. Johnson even threatens the guy, but Matt calms him and says that their training is not to be used on civilians. The group tries to get out but discovers that the thugs have locked the entrance, and now they will have to exit another way. Johnson tells Matt that that place is an underground base, and Matt comments that there must be a generator around. The group soon enters another room looking for the generator. Matt is in the lead until he finds it and turns it on. They agree to use the light to find the exit, since they don't know how long the power will last. Matt ends up taking the wrong path and everyone rebels, but he gets angry and says not everyone walks around with GPS. They quickly change course and continue, but one woman refuses to follow Matt. Her boyfriend, out of patience, tells her to hurry, and with no options, she goes, and we notice something running through the darkness. They find a possible exit, but must go down, and Johnson says to split into 2 groups because he can't guarantee those stairs are safe. They begin to descend, and when it's the men's turn, the stairs start to collapse, but they manage to get down. However, that escape is gone. They agree to move forward and soon find a dead end. But Jenna then finds a tunnel and shows it to the rest of the group. Johnson offers to check and lights a lighter, but inside the tunnel he sees something that frightens him. Johnson warns the others that he saw eyes, which scares everyone, and Matt calls him over to talk. Matt asks him not to bring his war traumas into a situation like that, because it will only put the group into panic. Matt tells him to stop joking and go again. Johnson, scared but agreeing, approaches again, this time very hesitant, sees nothing inside, and says he mistook it for his own shadow. Johnson explains that he noticed an entrance inside, but they can go around it. The group keeps walking in search of the exit, and a sudden noise scares the girls. Matt says it's just air ducts, but that doesn't calm anyone. He decides to check with his girlfriend. They find nothing and decide to move on. Johnson and another man go to the bathroom. The man suggests drinking from the taps, but Johnson refuses, saying he doesn't want to catch a disease and prefers to wait outside. While the man is drinking, the creature smashes through the wall and invades the bathroom. The monster attacks him repeatedly and then rips off his ear before fleeing, and the group hears his screams. The soldiers quickly pull the wounded man out of the bathroom, and the situation throws everyone into panic. Jenna, terrified, runs away, and Evie goes after her while the others care for the man. Matt calls for the girls but gets no answer, and Jenna remains desperate. Johnson finds the young woman and tells her to calm down, but she is in shock and says they are all going to die. While they try to decide how to get out with the wounded man, Matt says he will bleed to death, and the only option is someone going alone to get help. Johnson volunteers to go, and Eric says he will stay to help the girls. But there's no time to think, because the creature reappears and takes the young man's body with it. The horrific scene scares everyone, and they decide to run to survive. Further ahead, they find the young man's body stuck in the ventilation ducts. They try to pull him back, but the creature's strength is overwhelming. With a single tug, his head separates from his body before them. The group runs again, but Johnson stops to confront Matt. He asks if Matt doesn't realize that this is not human, but Matt refuses to believe and says he has seen similar things in Iraq. Johnson responds that those were caused by bombs and not by human hands, and says this is different from anything they've faced. Meanwhile, Jenna and Evie are talking when a tank light turns on behind them, and at that moment, the group arrives. Matt soon spots the creature inside a giant container, and Mira shows interest in studying it. She approaches to investigate. Matt tells her to come back, but she insists she needs to discover the creature's weakness. While they theorize about how the monster breathes, it opens its eyes and tries to attack the group. Everyone is shocked and leaves immediately, but on the way another creature appears. The monster grabs one of the women and drags her across a grate, leaving her severely injured. The group reaches her and Matt insists they must get out urgently, so they start descending even further. The young people reach a room full of objects, and Matt asks them to look for anything that can be used as a weapon. After arming themselves, the group starts to move through the dark place. Matt is ahead when the generator fails, but he keeps going until they get near an air duct. Matt hears noises and asks everyone to be quiet. The sound increases, and he tells them to back up, but the creature emerges from the duct and captures Mira. She screams for help to her boyfriend, and he uses a chain to climb to the duct and goes after her. While Matt tries to climb the slippery pipes, we see Mira being taken by other creatures. Matt slips and falls while the rest of the group waits below. They wait for his return when a noise echoes out of nowhere, causing everyone to tremble with fear. Amid the chaos, Johnson asks them to stay calm until Matt returns. Matt finally finds his girlfriend chained. With a small hatchet, he frees her, and together they walk through a place that seems to be the creature's trophy room, full of dog tags and military uniforms. Matt finds a rifle, but it has no bullets. The couple continues searching and finds a radio with a camera. Matt says they can use that to get out. When turned on, they discover the recording left by Sergeant Dover. Thus they learn the macabre origin of the place and that the creatures were created by the army. Matt concludes that they lost control of the experiment and tried to eliminate the monsters, but Mira says they failed. Armed with this information, Matt decides they need to rejoin the group. As they return through the ducts, the friends already fear for their death, but Johnson insists on not abandoning him. As they shine light into the duct, the creature appears unexpectedly, knocks Johnson out and captures Evie. At that moment, the couple returns, but it's too late, and the monster takes the young woman. Through a hole in the wall, they watch as Evie is brutally killed. The group carries wounded Johnson, and Matt tells them about the soldiers' recording and how everyone was massacred. Mira insists on studying them and says they don't need to kill them, but there is no time to think. The creatures invade the place and they flee, reaching another point where they hesitate to cross an open area. Jenna questions how to escape if the monsters are everywhere. Matt replies they must cross to reach the control room, and they press on. They find floating platforms and decide to risk it. Eric, thirsty, wants to drink the water, but his friends convince him not to, saying it's toxic. Matt adds that the creatures must live there because they can breathe underwater. The group continues, but Eric, who was a little behind, touches a creature that was swimming. The monster drags him into the water and returns only to give back his hand, leaving everyone terrified. Fed up and furious, Matt jumps into the water to try to find his friend, and after a few dives, he finds Eric alive, but without an arm. While Matt holds him, Eric begs, saying he doesn't want to die, but Matt assures him his friend is safe. The monster returns and takes Eric again, and everyone watches as the aberration carries Eric to his death. Matt blames himself for his friend's death and starts punching the water. Everyone says the friend couldn't have done anything. They ask Matt not to blame himself so much and remind him of all the good times they had together. Matt regains his reason and says they need to get to the control room. On the way, Matt realizes the mutants have followed him there. The group runs into another room, and once inside, they barricade it to stop the beast's advance. The room is the old control room, and while they search the place for something to help them, Jenna, who was fiddling with things, finds the circuit breakers and gets light for them. Johnson finds a recording left by the person responsible and plays it for everyone. The man introduces himself as Dr. Gunther Estig, born in Germany in 1920, and together with his colleague, Dr. Joseph Mengele, they created something incredible, beings that could perhaps replace wounded soldiers on the battlefield. Gunther says the U.S. intelligence branch took him to the United States to continue his friend's work. The doctor says they managed to synthesize human DNA with that of crocodiles. Gunther shows footage of one of his tests where he mixes his research into a woman's womb to compensate for the lack of soldiers. He says the shortage of test subjects was so great that they had to kidnap some women to continue their experiments, and the doctor claims that this latest generation is the most dangerous. Gunther likes to call them TOAD. At that moment, the recording stops, and Matt says they need to think like warriors. Mira and the others are apprehensive, and Johnson asks how they will do that if even the army was annihilated. He says those monsters will kill them, and no one will rescue them, because the United States has already abandoned the site. And even if they manage to get out alive, they won't be able to tell anyone. And Jenna asks why. Mira explains that this is a confidential government research center, which means the government will have them exterminated if they leak this information. Matt says they need to use some chemicals to destroy those aberrations. Mira fully supports her boyfriend. Johnson says it's worth trying, and Mira immediately starts preparations. She tells Matt that with those chemicals, they can set the place on fire. Johnson says if everyone stays together, they'll have a chance, but Matt says they won't fight as a group. A noise is heard and everyone goes on alert. The beasts turn off the lights as they begin to appear. They use fire to keep the mutants away. This gives them a chance to move to another area, but Johnson ends up staying behind and is attacked and wounded by a creature. Jenna, who was with him, flees and leaves him there. She is completely alone in another part of the base. Jenna spots a lit area and approaches to see some laboratory things, but her attention is drawn to a room. She walks slowly to the room, and when she opens it, she's in for a big surprise. Dr. Gunther is waiting for her and immediately attacks her with a stun gun. She falls to the ground, and Gunther says she shouldn't have come there. Jenna begs for help, but Gunther doesn't want to talk and tells her to leave. Meanwhile, Mira has also become separated from Matt and is wandering alone. Jenna can't leave, so Gunther explains he found a way to make his experiments breathe underwater. But Jenna pays no attention to Gunther's madness and just says she doesn't want to die. The doctor states that once she goes in, there's no turning back. But Jenna tries to appeal to his emotions and says he can save her. Gunther says he can help and asks her name. Jenna introduces herself and thanks him, and he asks her to come closer. Jenna does so, and Gunther sprays pepper spray in her eyes, incapacitating her. He attempts to take her, but Jenna uses a hose to wash her eyes while the doctor blows a whistle to call his monsters, and the sound echoes through the ducts. The aberration that was with Mira hears the sound and quickly leaves to meet its creator. A beast soon arrives and kills Jenna, sending her eyes against some metal while Gunther watches happily and then removes his blindfold, revealing a strange eye. Mira keeps wandering until she finds Matt, and they ask where the other two are. Johnson quickly finds the couple and Matt asks where Jenna is. He answers he doesn't know. At that moment, Gunther emerges from his room with his creatures, and the trio approach him looking for answers. Gunther says they shouldn't be there, and Matt retorts that when they get out, they will shut the place down for good. Gunther laughs and shows Jenna's eyes, which enrages Matt, who tries to advance but is stopped by the aberrations. Gunther says he can't do anything about it. Matt argues there's no reason to continue, but Gunther replies that the government still needs his experiments and that they will change the concept of war. Matt asks what the cost would be, but Gunther says the price is small compared to the lives he will save. The doctor orders his beasts to attack, but in a quick move, Matt hits a gas pipe, buying time for their escape. When they reach the stairs, the monsters are already waiting, and Matt uses his improvised flamethrower. This scares the creatures away, and they manage to reach another area, but they are being watched. Matt tells Johnson to go ahead, while he and Mira take another route. Johnson obeys, but doesn't notice he is being monitored by a mutant, and is soon attacked, while the couple also suffers an assault. The creature knocks Matt out, and Mira tries to fight back, but is pushed away. Meanwhile, Johnson fights the aberration, manages to hold it off, but sees his friend being taken by another and tries to help, only to be surrounded by more and begin a confrontation. Johnson fights bravely against the monsters and manages to kill some, but is also captured while Mira searches for the two. She is alone again and searches for Matt until she finds him lying on an improvised bed and tries to wake him. As he opens his eyes, he sees an aberration in the place of his girlfriend and begins to strangle her, but Mira pleads with him not to do it, and he soon comes to his senses and asks forgiveness. The two decide to go after Johnson. They reach a corridor, but are soon attacked by a monster that throws Matt aside, and Mira starts fighting the beast. This gives Matt time to recover and start a new fight against the mutant. Matt knows hand-to-hand combat won't be enough, so he decides to get his flamethrower. He forces the monster to flee, and when the gas runs out, He uses his hatchet to finish the monster. While the couple celebrates the monster's defeat, they hear Johnson's voice calling. They run and find him gravely wounded. Matt wants to help, but Johnson says his stomach is damaged and carrying him will be a waste of time. He asks the couple to fight and get out, saying he is only paying for actions he committed in the war. Matt tells him to forget that and says he will take him with him, but Johnson doesn't want to go and asks his friend to end his life. Reluctantly, Matt agrees, and Johnson says goodbye to his friend and to Mira, and Matt finally fulfills his friend's wish. News of the disappearance of the young people at the military base has spread, and the government is already aware. Soon the police arrive and we see one of the creatures in the ducts near a policewoman. Matt and Mira are trying to escape through the ducts while the monsters chase them. They find an exit, but it's locked. When they manage to open it, they find many human bones, and Mira faces something horrible and her screams are heard by the policeman outside. Mira is climbing the stairs to get out while Matt fights for a chance, and the officer approaches. Matt is injured but manages to kill some creatures, and Mira finally reaches the top, and the officer helps them out. The officer asks for explanations as the couple moves away, and she decides to look inside when she is pulled in. The couple decides to flee the place using the police car. They finally manage to free themselves from that nightmare. Mira cries for all the losses while Matt comforts her. Later, the couple is at home, and Mira asks what they should do now. Matt says not to tell anyone, and to live their lives normally, follow their friend's advice, and be happy. Later, while they sleep, Mira has a nightmare where she is a creature. The woman wakes up startled and sees that Matt has turned into a monster, but realizes it was only another nightmare, and he soon wakes up too and says he's fine and goes back to sleep. But his phone rings, and when he looks, he sees it's Eric's phone. When he turns on the phone and sees that his friend is being used in experiments, he is shaken by it but stays silent.